All right. Hello, everybody. Oh, phooey, I don't have my Kindred mat. That's okay. All right, we're going to get everything all pulled up for tonight's live. Just give me a hot second so I can get everything together. And let's see. There we go. Let me see. Let me go out for a second. No, we're good. We are A-okay. All right. If you are dropping by, make a quick comment just to say hello. And we will get to crafting very soon. I'm very excited to get in today's Facebook Live with y'all. And it's been a little bit of a work day, so I'm excited to get some crafting therapy on tonight. So I hope everyone is having a wonderful Facebook Live. Oh my gosh, that's one track mind. I hope that everybody is having a wonderful Tuesday night. I know I'm usually on Wednesdays when I do my weekday lives, but this week it is Tuesday. So I hope that I'm maybe fitting into some new people's schedule who don't get to see me regularly on Wednesdays. So like I said, if you are stopping by, drop a quick comment, just say hello. And I'm super excited today because I'm going to be sharing a closer look at a brand new stamp set. It's today's sneak peek for the September release. I don't think I've ever done this before. I don't think I've ever done a release sneak peek during a Facebook Live. So this is the first time that I'm doing it. Also wanted to forewarn you guys a little bit. If my mouth sounds like I might have a little bit of a lisp or something going on, I do actively have a cough drop in my mouth. I was sick a couple weeks ago, and the way that my body processes colds is I have a little bit of congestion that just kind of carries over. So the cough drop is just to kind of help my throat, everything go okay. But so if you hear anything a little different sound-wise, that is why. Hello, Chris. Hello, Amy. Hope you guys are having a good night. Hello, Barbara. Since you guys are here, how about we take that closer look for the set that we have ready to go for today. And I'm so sorry about that backlight. I'm just saying now that my lamp was pointed directly at me. So today's sneak peek is going to be the Mother May I stamp set. So like I said, this set is brand new and is part of the September release. It is a 4x8 stamp set. So part of the stamp set, you're going to get this really awesome large house image down here. You're also going to get some full-size characters as well. You're going to get the young motel clerk, the older dressed as his mother hotel clerk. You're going to get the mother image herself, who's not very alive looking. And then finally, what we're going to be focusing on for today's Facebook Live is a brand new style of stamp that Audra specifically came up with to work with our TV Time craft eye. And that is this little shower scene image right here. So we're going to be coloring up this image, and I am going to show you how you're going to be able to use this image to fit right into the TV Time craft eye. I'm going to go over a little bit of the ins and outs of black and white coloring because a lot of my projects or two of my three projects that I made for this release sneak did entail black and white coloring, so I can answer some questions about that. And then let's just get into a little bit of crafting. So let me see any comments coming up. Hello, Heidi. Hope you're having a good night. Thank you for stopping by. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and I've stamped out the shower scene image onto some Copic alcohol marker safe paper. This is the Copic Express It paper, and I have stamped it out in alcohol safe marker. So you know what, I want to make sure, let me move this out just a little bit so it's kind of centered. I try to keep the center of my glass mat centered for my crafting. So that's why I wanted to move that. So I've gone ahead and I've stamped out the shower scene, alcohol marker safe ink. This is blackout ink by Ink on 3. I've also used on the Copic Express It paper, so my marker is going to move very nicely on it. And let's go ahead and start with getting this image colored up. Now for black and white coloring, I kind of treat it differently than I do my normal coloring. I usually like to pick and pull a lot of different colors, but when I work with black and white or grayscale coloring, I just like to focus on one color group. So I've gone ahead and I have just grabbed all of my N markers, aside from N10. I don't really use that much because it's just too dark for me. I really like using the neutral gray family of Copics because I think it works really well with that black and white look. The neutral gray Copics don't have really any sort of warmth or coolness to them. So I think it works really nicely for that style of a black and white movie. So that's what I'm going to be using. And I don't really enter my Copic markers when I'm using grayscale coloring that I have like specific formulas in mind, because I'm always kind of playing off of what's lighter, what's darker. This is a white bathtub, so I want the white bathtub to be lighter. This is a shadow on the shower curtain, a darker shadow I kind of want to be darker so it's prominent. And then so we just kind of play around with there. So let's start with, I'm going to start with her hair. And for example, for her hair, I want her hair to be kind of dark. Now, the reason that I want her hair to be dark, especially in comparison to her skin, is that she's in the shower. When you're taking a shower, your hair just kind of naturally gets darker because it's wet. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure her hair is nice and dark. And I'm just going to kind of go in and add some hair texture with some strokes like this. Just kind of going in. Sometimes I call them tick marks. Sometimes I call them just like strokes of alcohol marker ink. So there we go. So that is N6. Then we're going to go in with some N4. Let me just make sure. Oh, we've got a couple more people. Hello, Gwen, Patsy, and Carrie. Hope you're all having a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for stopping by. So we're going to go in and just kind of bring those strokes out a little bit more. And just kind of continue with that texture for the hair. I'm trying to have it so like the hair is part, no, I don't actually have a hair part in this at all. And that was intentional because I kind of think when your hair gets wet, you know how it just kind of gets messy? And it's like you don't really know where the part is for certain because your hair is a little bit all over the place. That's kind of what I was channeling with this. And it kind of gives you an excuse to not have to plan so much. So I'm going in with my N2 right now. I'm just kind of adding some more texture. And just kind of brushing all that out best that I can. And then let's finish this up with some N0. So I'm just going to go in, add that N0. And as you can see, I've got that hair texture, but I am going to also treat this image for the most part like I normally do. And I'm going to use the process of I call coloring twice. I know we've got a couple, I don't want to say new faces on here, but I know we have a couple people on right now who haven't been on one of my Facebook Lives before. So I want to talk about what I mean when I say coloring twice. To be honest, even if everyone in this group looked familiar that I knew was in a Facebook Live, I always make it a point to explain. So when I color something twice, what that means is that I color the image from darkest to, well, this is going to be a terrible example because I'm starting my hair, but let me talk. So I'll correct myself, don't worry. When I color up my images, I like to color them twice, and I color from dark to light. Hair is an exception, and I'll explain why in a second. But I start from dark to light, and then when I am done, I like to go in and I like to start from dark once again and color my image to the lightest color a second time. When I color twice, it allows me to really get ink that saturates the paper. And when your ink saturates the paper, it allows the ink to really move around nicely. Now, when I say saturate, I don't want you to feel like you have like damp, wet paper because that's not going to give you the results that you want. But you do want that paper wet, quote unquote, enough so that your ink does have a nice sort of flow to it. The other reason is that when you saturate the paper with the ink, you're also saturating it with the color of the ink, which allows you to get those deeper, darker colors, which is usually what I go for when I'm coloring. And now I got a smudge of ink. That's lovely. Now, I said that I do hair a little bit different, and I start hair like I do any other image when I color it from dark to light. But then, because with hair, I don't really like to blend. I sort of like to layer the texture. I then color the second time from light to dark, and I do strokes. Now, the reason I color the second time from light to dark is because I don't have to blend the colors into each other, and the last thing I'm putting on the paper is my darkest ink, and I'm able to get some nice sort of textured hair strokes out of it that don't blend into the rest of the paper. So that's why I do that. Now next, let's work on coloring up some of her skin. So I'm going to go in, we're going to do some N4 as her shadow. And I'm just going to kind of go in Just add it in like this, kind of along the hairline. Just kind of around her chin like this. And I'm also going to do the inside of her mouth. Do her hand, just like this. And then we'll do by her nose like that. She looks really funny right now, but she'll look decent. She'll look better in a second. So now we're going to go ahead. We're going to go in with some N2. And I'm just going to kind of bring that out. Now, the reason I'm choosing this color palette, and this is a lot of how I handle my grayscale coloring, is I kind of like to look at things one image at a time, where it's like, okay, I know her hair is a little dark. Now, in comparison to her hair, is her skin lighter or is it darker? And then I kind of know how to shift my color recipe of Copics, since I'm keeping everything within the same family, to make sure that it's going to reflect that lighter or darker. So I am using right now, I'm doing a lighter blend because I do think that her skin is going to be lighter in color than her hair, mostly because that hair is going to be wet. So because it's wet, it's going to be darker. So I'm just kind of going in like that. And then we'll finish this up with some N0, and then we'll color it up once again. And also too, I always recommend, if you're uncertain on coloring, I recommend you to start lighter rather than darker, because you can always make an image darker. You can't really make it lighter. The more ink you're going to add, just naturally the more saturated the image will become, making it more darker. So just keep that in mind. I see that we've got some questions. All right, Carrie says, sometimes I get it darker on the second round. I don't like it, then I'm not. I get what you're saying, Carrie, absolutely. And there you see with me with why I need the golf drop. So, all right, Gwen says, N equals natural gray, C equals cool grays. What are the T's? Thank you. The T grays are called, they're called toner grays. To be honest with you, Gwen, I don't really know what that means. But what I can tell you is I kind of look at the grays on a spectrum, where I think that if you were to line them all up from like cool to warm, you start with cool on the cool end, and then I think the next closest gray is going to be the neutral grays. After that, I think that the toner grays is almost like the slightly warmer version of a neutral, which is kind of a weird way to explain it. But it's like if you maybe want your image to have like a little bit more warmth than a neutral, then you would go ahead and you would add in toner grays. And then warm grays, honestly, almost have more of like a taupiness to them. They're really on that light side, or not light side, that warm sort of, that you can tell that they have got brown in them. So that's kind of how I direct my colors. All right. Let's do some N1. Can go and add it in. And then you can keep these strategies in mind for all the images for this set. I colored up all of the images aside from the young hotel clerk because I thought he was, because of just true to character purposes, I thought he would make more sense in color. Because he's a little bit more of a newer addition and he didn't really ever have a black and white era. But feel free to use this sort of color scheme in mind for all the images in this set. All right, so we've got her all colored up. Let's color up, we'll do the tub. The tub is going to be white. So I'm just gonna go in, oh, I didn't grab my color with Splendor, that's okay. I'm going with N3. But I'm also going to color up the shower curtain with a very similar color palette, because the shower curtain is just kind of a sheer color. So I don't really need too much going on there. I'm almost going to treat the sheer like I would this white tub. I'm just going in just like this. And then let's go in. I am going to, don't do it. Maybe I want to do the curtain after I do the sheer. No, we'll do this. We'll do the curtain first. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to add this N3 anywhere that there be a shadow. I'm just going to kind of go around her. And then just like that. And go kind of along the little curtains, little hooks, and then we'll go in with that later. We'll go down this side, and this side, and let's do along the top of the tub, just like that. Awesome, awesome. Okay, next that was N3. Let's go on to, we'll do some N1. I think I'm gonna skip over N2. I'm just gonna take this and kind of flick it out a little bit more. Just like that. And if it's not perfect, don't worry. Honestly, some of this is gonna get colored up anyway, or covered up rather. So it doesn't have to be like the perfect sort of color job. Just go like that, and then let's go along the curtain rod. Like that. And then let's add some of these wrinkles in down the side of the shower head. All right. Last color for this, let's do some N0. See if I'm missing anything. Oh, the ice grays work well for coloring grayscale. That is good to know, and I appreciate the insight, Chris, especially as I'm not really a Spectrum Noir user. So I always appreciate when people kind of let me know, because I can pass that along if anyone maybe has any sort of questions about that moving forward during a demonstration or just in a regular chat of sorts. So I appreciate that. All right, so I've gone ahead and colored the tub. Now, I'm not going to be coloring the tub or the shower curtain twice. Now you're gonna be like, Justin, you said you color everything twice. I did say that. Now let's talk about the exceptions to the rules. We talked about hair. The other thing that is an exception to the rule are super light colors. So if something that I'm intending on being like white, I don't really need to color it up twice because I don't really think there's too much of a thing as like a saturated white. So I just kind of let it be. All right. Excuse me. All right, so I'm just kind of going in. Not really overly concerned about the shadowy figure because we're going to go in with that in a minute. So let's go in. Let's see. Gonna color it up. I really like that we're coloring this in grayscale. I think it's great for a Facebook Live because it's a speedier way to color up an image. And I always appreciate that when doing a demonstration, showing off what I consider an effective technique that takes overall less time. So I'm glad I can share that with you guys today. Let's go ahead, let's color in the shower curtain rod and the little faucet or the shower head. So I'm gonna go in with some N4. Let's do the shower head right there. Just like that. All right, and then we're gonna go in with some N2. What's also gonna be really nice about this is I'm not really gonna have to fussy cut. Not that I'm complaining, fussy cutting does not bother me. However, it's nice when I have like workarounds. All right, now we're gonna go with some N0. Just like that. We're gonna go in, All right. Go do N4 again. Now also, we haven't gotten to it yet, but I did pull a stencil to use for this set that I don't know if I've used in a Facebook Live before. If you haven't gone over to the Kindred Stamps website in the last couple days, they've been some new, not new, but older stencil designs that have not been in the store in a long time that are now available for purchase. I don't know how many there are. I don't know how long they will last. But if there have been a couple stencils that you've had your eye on that have maybe been out of stock for a while, or if you haven't checked out the stencil section recently, now would be a good time to head over and check that out. I know that the stencil that I'm going to be using today, I don't think it's been in stock for a chunk of time. I don't remember seeing it at all this year. Beyond that, I don't know for certain. Listen, I feel like as I'm getting older, my memory is not getting any better. So I don't remember the last time it was available. I do remember using this stencil back in 2020 for a specific release. But other than that, I don't really have too much of a recollection of when it was available last. So head on over if you haven't yet, just to check out that stencil section. We're going to be using the N7 to start with, and we're going to work on this outline of this little shadowy figure. I'm just going to kind of go in, and I am going to take my marker and just kind of do the whole image. Just like this. And just kind of go up the hands, just like that. Okay, cool. Next, let's go in with some N5. I should probably check comments. We're good. All right, so we're gonna go in with N5 and just kind of bring out those shadows a little bit more. Not really shadows, this is a weird thing to talk about. I'm talking about a shadow. So I'm just kind of going in, bringing out that N7. Just like that. And then I'm just going to do one more color. Let's do some N3, and then I'll repeat. And this way it just looks like a dark shadowy figure kind of lurching behind the shower curtain, ready to jump out. All right, let's do this one more time. Let's do N7. So like I said, with coloring in Grayscale, I don't really, you could always color something up, and you could keep track of the specific colors that you're using. I say just when you're starting to kind of come up with colors, just think about what is lighter and what is darker. Don't think about like, oh, well, I know that this bathtub is like purple. So how light is purple? I wouldn't say to do that. Think about everything in relation to the elements around it. All right, and then I'm going to M3. Just kind of blend it all out. Just like this. Awesome. And then I'm just going to go with my N0, blend a little bit out, get a little bit outside the line over there. Just kind of make it have some nice clean lines. But there you have it. So we do have our image all colored up in Grayscale. Let's take a look a little closer to the camera. And I think it turned out really nicely. So like I said, I just kind of played around with the lights, the highlights and the shadows of the colors, and use that as inspiration to come up with the palette. Don't necessarily worry about thinking about like, oh, how light or how dark this brown is or this blue. Just go ahead and compare it to everything else. And I think that'll allow you to get a good idea of how to color it up the first time. So, and thank you so much, Gwen. You're so sweet. All right, so now There's two different ways you could go about using this for your television set. So I have the TV time die all cut out. One thing that you could do is you could take the die cut for TV time, and do I have it out in front of me? I might have put it away. Oh, darn it. Nope, here it is. So one thing that you could do is you could take the TV time die, and you could sort of just lay this over the scene and just kind of map it all out, think about where you want it to go, and then put tape on it and run it through your die cutting machine. That's the first thing that you can do. That's not what I'm going to be doing, because if you do it this way, you're going to have to lay it inside of the TV, and I want it to be slightly inlet. Like, I want the television physical set to lay on top of it. So this is what I came up with, and this is my way of how I decided to use this die cut. So I am going to take my die cut right here, and I am going to take, actually, now that I think about it, there's two different ways that I could do this. I am going to take my die cut and just kind of lay it out. And I'm going to map out where exactly I want my scene to be. And I think I want it like right there. So then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take a pencil and I'm going to very lightly trace my television set. And I'm going to do it around the outside. I'm going to tell you why in a second. But just let me finish this first. So I'm going to trace this out, and I've got everything all laid out. Now, I am going to take my scissors, and I am going to cut this out. But I am going to cut this out a little on the inside, so I can't actually see any of what I just traced. So I'm just kind of going to cut it out, just like that. I'll show you in a second what I mean by cutting it like on the inside. Okay, so do you see how for this that you can see the entire outline that I pencil drew? There's not really any part that like the pencil is missing. So now what I'm going to go ahead and do is you can take your TV time die, and I should be able to layer it directly on top of my cutout and have my cutout entirely sort of placed behind the scene. And I can kind of wiggle it around a little bit, but this gives me the dimension that I was looking for, that the scene is almost laid inside of the television where I have like the texture of the TV on top. Now, I do want to go in right now, and I wanted to do, sorry about the noise, I wanted to do a little bit of ink blending. So I'm going to take some Hickory Smoke Distress Oxide ink. And just kind of dab it off. And I just kind of want to distress the edge of this, just to kind of make it not so white. So I'm just going to kind of go in, make it a little darker. Really, that side doesn't even matter that much because that's going to get covered by the console part of the television. I'm just going to go in like that. Just going to kind of blend it a little bit. And this is, like I said, this is going to make my scene not so stark white. It's going to kind of add a highlight around this little shower scene. And just kind of blend it. You can also take markers and color this as well. You don't have to use an ink if it's something you don't feel comfortable with. But as you can see, it just really nicely sort of takes away the brightness of the paper, keeps that grayscale tone added on. So I just really like how this looks. So we're going to set this aside just for a moment. And what I'm going to do next is, I think these should pop out. Will they? They should. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this piece of tape behind. And I am going to use my poke tool I hope they come out easily. If they don't, oh well. And phooey. Yep, they'll come out. Perfect. So I just want to go ahead and poke out each of these buttons. I don't really need them right now. Just like that. And then I'm pushing them down just so they stay on my piece of tape. I am going to take my darkest marker that I pulled, which was N9, and just color them. This way I don't have to die cut it from black paper. I can just kind of use what I have already. That's pretty good. All right, and those are my black television buttons. Perfect. We'll use those shortly. So let's start working on our television set. And I'll tell you kind of how I start putting them together. So let me do a little bit of cleanup first too. There it is. I was like, where is my spray bottle? Okay, so I grabbed the TV Time die, and we're also just going to use, I think I'm going to use some black soot distress oxide ink. I don't think I want to use the distress ink. I want to use the oxide. I want it to have a little bit of a softer blend. So I'm going to take the black soot, and I'm going to start off the paper, and I'm just going to start ink blending around the edges. Just like this. And just kind of make it a little bit distressed. Just like that. Move that over there. Add some good shading to it. All right, and then, awesome. And I think I also wanted to add just a little bit of speckles too. So I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna use some water, and I'm gonna take a clean brush for watercolors. Just kind of splatter a little bit. And I like using my oxides to splatter because I feel like oxides sit better on top of the paper as opposed to the distress inks. All right, so I think that's gonna be enough. So set this aside. See, it's starting to dry a little bit. No, we should be good. I think that actually looks pretty good. All right, so let's go ahead, clean off my brush, pop a new cough drop in my mouth. Not lose our buttons, we don't want that. All right, let's see if there's any comments. I'm glad that this is helpful, you guys. Happy Tuesday to you too, Christian. Thanks so much for stopping by. I am sorry that I'm not doing a live today that you can craft along with, because I know you don't have this specific set yet, but it can give you ideas for other sets maybe too. So, all right, so we're letting that dry. Let me also, I have my antennas. Let's use some black soot distress oxide that's just kind of residue on the foam blender and just kind of blend this out. Just like that. All right. Now, let's see. This still has to dry maybe just a little bit. We're almost there. We are almost there. So I am going to go ahead. I'm going to grab my Misty Precision Glue Press, which I did not put over on my desk, but luckily it's within arm's reach. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of glue to the outside of the TV. Let's see. No. Just gonna spread that out a little bit. There we go. All right, just like that. Now, let's just make sure The glue is nice and light. All right, I think that's about good. So then I'm gonna go ahead, I'll flip this upside down, and we're gonna lay this on top of our little scene. Just kind of lightly nudge it into place. Just like that. All right. See, it makes a liar out of me. That's okay. Let me grab an acrylic block that I could just lightly set on top of it, just for a second. Just to kind of, man, that one's too small. Let's grab my big one. Grab my large acrylic block just to kind of help push everything together. All right, let's see, any comments? We are good. This is not a cute die. I think it's a cute die. The precision glue press is wonderful, Heidi. I use it all the time. All right, let's go ahead. I'm gonna just kind of do a little bit of glue inside each of these little buttons. And then I'm gonna go ahead and pop each button into place. All right, just one. And two. And three. Just like that. And now I've also got some buttons die cut as well. We're gonna have to do the little bits for the bottom of the TV soon too, but that's okay. We'll get to that in a second. So I have, let's do black buttons. So I've got this little ring and it goes down here. It's part of the die cut. And they've got little stitched areas so you know exactly where they go. And then I want to put a little metallic circle in the middle. Just like that. And then, oh phooey, I think I might have misplaced one of my black circles, but that's okay. We're gonna put a silver button right here. It's a good die, Heidi. It really is. I think right now it's listed as not in stock on the website, but Audra did tell me she has some on the way, so I'm hopeful they are there for you very soon if you guys don't have them yet. I'm just gonna kind of take my silver button. And now my TV is sticking to my glass mat. We don't want that. All right, so we've got our little buttons. Let me set this aside to dry a little bit. And then I do need to work on distressing the bottom of the little TV feet. So let's just use my black slip distress ink. Distress oxide ink. Just kind of distress it, just like that. There's one leg. Let's do the second leg. Is the black one the upside down die cut? The black one. The black circle. So there's two buttons. Let me show you the buttons for the die set, just so I can make sure I explain it well enough. So for the die set, you're gonna have the TV body itself, you're gonna have the antennas, and then you're gonna have the two legs. There's two legs that come with it, they're identical die cuts, and then you're gonna have two buttons. One of the buttons is just a solid circle. It goes in this area right here. It's the smaller circle. And then you've got almost like, we'll call it a donut die cut, that it's got a center cutout, and that goes over here. What I did is that I die cut the center one twice. Once from black and then once from silver cardstock. So that's how I was able to get the silver button in the center. So that's how I use that one. I hope that explains what you're looking for, Barbara. Oh, I love that you love the TV die, Christian. I think it's a really good set too. So, all right, let's go ahead And I'm gonna add these little legs in. Let's do just trying to make it even. All right, so there's one leg. And then that. Then we'll add the second one. You just bring it out just a little bit. Try to make sure that it's nice and in position. Put that right there. Now, for the antenna, I could just kind of, I think I will just kind of tuck it behind, because I can tuck it behind. I know some people put it off to the side because I think it's a little bit more retro. I like it just right in the center. That's just my preference. But you can put your antenna wherever you would like. So I'm just going to go ahead and do a very thin line of glue right along the bottom. And then, let's see, just going to line it up so it's in the center. And then we're just going to kind of put it right there. All right, so it's nice and centered. Actually, that looks pretty good. So there we have our television set. So I can take that and put it aside for the moment. And I've got my whole main little element for this little scene die cut that we had talked about that's included with this Mother May I set. So I'm going to put my stamped image off to the side. And now I'm going to work on my background. So for my background, I have this just gray square, and we're going to use the mesmerizing dot stencil. I just thought it would be fun to use. So I'm going to go in and I'm just going to kind of distress the edge of this with the residual black soot distress oxide ink, just to kind of darken it up a little bit. Just like this. Just kind of do each side. And then make sure it's nice and even, just to get those nice sort of dark edges, just like that. Okay, now I'm going to take some mint tape. I'll take 2 pieces. And I am going to line this up on my mesmerizing dot stencil. I'm going to try to keep this as even as possible. So I'm just kind of nudging everything into place as best as I can. I'm just going to bring it up a little bit like that. Okay, so we're going to go in, tack it down. Now, let's pull in, I have 3 different inks that I want to use. So we're going to use some Hickory Smoke, just right in the center. It's not really making too much of an impact, but that's okay because the television is going to cover most of the center anyways. I'm just going to go in like that. And then I'm going to take the black soot oxide ink and just sort of blend that around it. Just like that. Just to kind of get it nice and solid for that black soot color. But then I'm also going to pull in my Hickory Smoke Distress Oxide ink blender and just kind of blend them into each other. And that's going to help me get that nice transition of color. All right, and then I am going to go ahead, I'm going to put these off to the side, and I am going to pull out a blending brush and some regular black soot distress ink. just to darken the edges. So let's have a good old peel reveal and see how this mesmerizing dot stencil looks. I think that's pretty cool. So as you can see, it gets lighter in the center, and that's going to be okay because we are going to cover it up with our television. I just think it's a really fun stencil to use. So I thought I would break it out. Oh, Chris, I do definitely think the TV die would work really nicely with some of the sports sets. Maybe we need some smaller sports figures too. I have a hunch that this is not going to be the last, or the only set rather, that has minifigures. I don't have any insight for any plans of other ones, but sports might work really nicely for this set. So that's a great idea. All right, just kind of clean off my stencil. Just like that. Now, let's get into card assembly mode. So what I'm going to go ahead and do, I have this skull pattern, which is from the Gothic Vibes paper pack. I just thought that the dark and like the little bit of like the design of the frames around the skulls and the skulls themselves lend themselves really nicely to the theme of this set. So we're going to work with that, but I'm going to adhere this square to a slightly larger metallic silver square. Heidi, the stencil is in the shop right now. Oh, and that's okay. I was gonna do something, but I'm gonna skip it. I was gonna do some splatters, but I put glue too early and I don't wanna get the splatters on the silver. Do I? No, I don't really wanna waste that. Okay, so, then I want to go ahead and I want to adhere that to my skull pattern paper. Now, unlike most of my other lives, I am not going to be uploading this to my channel right away. I'm going to wait until the release, so this isn't going to hit my YouTube channel for a replay until maybe Saturday or Sunday. We'll see which day, but it's going to be after the release. Just because I can't really share this until the set goes live, so that's what we're gonna do. Oh no. All right. That looks really nice. I like that sort of design. And then let's go ahead and adhere it to an A2. No, this is not A2. This is a 5.5 inch square card base. I wanted to make this card a little different than the one that I had made as my sample for the release. So I'm going to go ahead, just kind of press it in and shimmy everything kind of into place. I like using liquid glue because it gives me a little bit of wiggle room time that I could go ahead and put all of my die cuts nicely into place. So, all right, so we've got that. So we're going to put our stencil, or our die cut in the center. And then I want to do my die cut sentiment that I'm going to fussy cut out along the bottom. Do I have scissors for that? No. Well, phooey. That's okay. So I'm going to put this to the side. Let's work on our sentiment for a second. And I think for the sentiment, I'm just going to do Showering You With Love, which is included in the Mother May I stamp set. So I'm going to use this one right here. And didn't I pull out my Misty too? Must have forgotten. All right, I got to grab my Misty just so I can stamp out my sentiment. Oh, and I do have my fussy cutting scissors. Perfect, perfect. So let's go ahead. I've got this scrap piece of paper that I would like to use. Let's use part of this. Just like that. Use your scraps, people. You don't have to keep them all, but they come in handy, especially with little bits and bobs. So we're going to do Showering You with Love. I'm going to close my Misty door, pick that up, and then let's use our embossing tool. That would not be good. All right. Let's go ahead and stamp this out. I've got my Kindred embossing ink. And let's go ahead and put some embossing powder. Clean this up. I always just reach for like a whole piece of scrap paper, and that way I can just kind of catch all of my embossing powder. Now, I have heard before, of course, that coffee filters work very nicely for that, but I've also seen some people, and I think Bo is the one who had done it during a Facebook Live. I believe Bo uses hot dog holders. And those also look like they work really nicely because they're kind of shaped to catch your paper. So I think that's brilliant as well. All right, so we're going to put that away. And then we'll go ahead and we will heat set our sentiment. Sorry about the noise, of course. All right. A little lighter in some of the colors than I would have liked for the embossing. It's not the most perfect, but that's okay. I will work with it. Let's go ahead, wipe off the excess, and then fussy cut the sentiment out. This would also be a great opportunity if you've got some sentiment dies that you love for some banners. I would recommend that. I did not think about reaching for mine. Just says showering you with love. So let's use some foam. Let's see. Where are my foam strips? There we go. We're going to use those. I've got some foam strips that we're going to use for the back of my TV. And let's see. Just kind of lay them all out. This is going to give a little bit of lift to our TV die cut. I don't know thickness wise. No, we're gonna work around it. So like that. And then let's do another strip. These are foam strips by scrapbook.com. I do use them often because they're already cut into these nice little clean strips. They're rather thin, so they kind of can get popped onto your card really easily. All right. Sometimes still not thin enough. Let's see. Oh, that looks pretty good. All right, let's remove the backing. All right. And let's make sure the card is opening the way that I want it to. We're just going to kind of put our television in the center like that. Awesome. And then let's put our sentiment strip. Just like that. All right. All right, so we've got our sentiment. Let's check some comments. All right. Was that a silver paper or a foil? It is a silver paper. It's like a metallic silver paper. And then back in the day, the picture was kind of grainy. So if it's not embossed, hey, Gwen, that's right on point. I am going to debunk it a little bit. They have converted it into 4K technology. So I do apologize. But if we are thinking like retro when it first came out, you are right on point. I fully agree with you. That's a great way to look at it. Let's do a couple little embellishments and then call it a day, you guys. So I am going to grab an embellishment dish. I just have these little sort of iridescent pearls. They're kind of like my go-to. I use them all the time. I just want to do like 1, 2, 3. Let me just do 3 little ones. I don't really need a bunch of them. Let's see. And one little one. There we go. And I know I could use a jewel picker. It would make this a lot easier. I just kind of, oh no, I smeared it. I don't want to smear. And it'll dry clear. It will dry clear. All right. So there you guys have it. So we've got the card that we created using the brand new Mother May I stamp set. And I showed you how you can use it with the TV Time craft die and how this little scene just fits really sweetly inside of it. We went through all the steps for how you can get it to fit nicely. We went over a couple ink blending tips. Of course, we talked about coloring in Grayscale as well. So here you guys have it. So let me know if you've got any questions. If you guys have any suggestions for stamp sets that you might like to see, these existing stamp sets maybe that you would like to see little scenes for, go ahead and let me know in the comments. You never know. Stamps always kind of seem to pop up around here. Sometimes you expect them, sometimes you don't. So I'll be very interested to see what the next stamp set that has a little TV scene in it for us is. But thank you all so very much for stopping by tonight. I hope you're having a wonderful Tuesday. There is so much more to come with this release. I know that there's some stamps. Of course there's stamps. We've got 2 more days of stamps to show you. There's dies. It's a lot of fun. Stay tuned to Thursday. Thursday's got something really cool. So, be sure to stay tuned for that. Thank you guys. And of course, Wednesday is going to be awesome too. All the days are always awesome. I can sometimes have favorites, though. I think that's fair. But thank you guys so very much. I hope you're having a wonderful Tuesday. Get excited for the release this Friday. Don't forget, release will drop at 8 a.m. Pacific time. Those of us on the East Coast, that's 11 o'clock a.m. Those in Central Time, 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, depending on if you're... sometimes there's daylight savings areas in Mountain Standard Time. That's a little wonky. But you're going to be looking at like a 9 a.m. Standard Time for you. Set those alarms. I hope you guys get everything that you want, and I can't wait to see what you make. So thank you so very much. I will be back next month with 2 more lives. Can't believe we're already towards the end of September, and I'll see you guys real soon. Thank you all so much for stopping by, and have a wonderful night. Bye-bye.